Hey guys, what is up? So today's video is going to be a fun one for me. Growing up, I never was one of those people that, idolized any celebrities or was, really into anyone. I guess I was into a couple bands, but I'm not one of those people that can tell you like, oh, watch TV and say, oh, that's so-and-so, he plays on this, she plays on that. I'm just not one of those people that have a dictionary in my brain that knows a bunch of celebrities. I just don't really care too much about other people's lives until I started watching YouTube. I think the cool thing about YouTube is it's normal people. It's normal people that you get to watch and see a little bit of their day-to-day life. And one of my favorite YouTubers is good old Trisha Paytas. And I think it's because she's so real, I mean, yeah, she does troll and she does, act a little strange sometimes, but you know what, that's her. And I love her. I love Trisha. Sorry, someone called me. So yeah, what I was saying is, yeah, why I like Trisha Paytas. Just because she's real. Like I mentioned, she does some weird things, but she's real. And I think that's part of why a lot of us like to watch YouTube, even like mukbangs and stuff, like weird things like that. Like who, you sit there and you think like, why would someone want to sit and watch someone eat a bunch of food? Like, it's a weird concept, but you know what? I sit there and I watch them, so it's really strange. So anyways, this is a shout out to my girl, Trisha Paytas. I just want to tell you that, girl, you are beautiful. You're one of a kind. You have definitely inspired me and plenty of others in this world. So, I don't know. Keep on trucking on. Today's video for me is going to be a fun one. I actually bought one of Trisha's books, The History of My Insanity. And from escort to YouTuber. It's I am one of those people that actually don't read books. I think the last book I read was Holes in high school, and I did a book report on that book probably like 6 times. So I'm definitely not the reader type. I always envied people that like to read. But this book I actually really enjoyed. I don't know if it's because, I take that back. I didn't read it. I listened to it. I like audiobooks. Scar Tissue by Anthony Kiedis, the Red Hot Chili Peppers. That is a phenomenal book. If you guys like autobiographies on legends, that's definitely a good book. It tells, about all of his crazy rock star. Oh my gosh, it's a really good book. Me and my boyfriend actually, when we go down to our Tucson trip for the Gem and Mineral show, it's a 17-hour drive, so we put that thing in the speakers and just listen to it, and it seriously makes time go by like lickety-split. So it's actually a really good book. I recommend that book. And I also recommend this book. So I took this book with me on vacation when we went to Disneyland and to San Diego, and I'm actually already on page 55. Given that it is only a 80-page book, that's pretty good for me. But I actually really enjoyed it. I like the next one. I'm going to get her next one as well, and I'm going to read that one. And I think it's The Stripper Diaries, I think is what it's called. But yeah, when I got this book off of Amazon, it said that, I don't know, like, it said it was brand new, but like, look at this. I don't know if like Trisha did that, like, but it looks like someone like attempted to put like a kiss mark on it or something, but hey, I don't know. Anyways, the reviews on Amazon were that it had poor grammar and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know, you can tell that Trisha wrote it, which is actually really cool. It states in there that she didn't really like have a publisher or anything like that. Maybe go over it and stuff. So, but it's written by her, and you can tell it's written by her, and that's what I like. It's like Trisha. It's real, it's her. It's really cool. So I figured it would be a really cool video to read it to you guys. So yeah. Let's get started. Here's the cover of it. It's, it's backwards, but The History of My Insanity by Trisha Paytas. And she's got some wicked platinum. I mean, her hair is like white on this cover. Yeah, definitely not blonde, platinum. It's like, I don't know, it's like white. But anyways, it looks good, whatever. She's wearing a straight jacket, but yeah. Anyway, so let's get started. The History of My Insanity by Trisha Paytas. All right, so chapter 1. The Birth of a Legend. All right, so here we go. So maybe legend is a bit of a stretch. After all, what exactly have I done in my 24 years of existence? I would say I'm working on my plan to waste my entire life, but alas, this is not true either. I'm working on my plan to waste my entire life. This is going to be silly. I just literally reread. Oh, gosh. All right, so let's start over. Chapter 1, The Birth of a Legend. So maybe legend is a bit of a stretch. After all, what exactly have I done in my 24 years of existence? I would say I'm working on my plan to waste my entire life, but alas, this is not true either. I want to make something of myself and leave a mark on this world. I've already posed naked, so now it's time to strip back and give you the history of my insanity. How do these things start? Wow, I haven't read a book since I dropped out of college. That's something that we both have in common as well, girl. First or second one since high school. No, that's a lie. I read those 50 Shades books. By the way, this is me writing this. No ghostwriter, no recording device. It's a Friday night, and I'm all alone. So I thought, why not just crank out my autobiography tonight? Yes, I'm motivated like that. I digress. Trisha K. Paytas was born May 8th, 1988 in Riverside, California, to parents Frank Jude and Lena K. Paytas. She had a pleasant childhood, a middle-class upbringing, but stable parents and a happy heart until she turned 3 years old when her life plummeted. ... Okay, too morbid, too self-depreciating. Well, this book is all about Trish, my feelings and how I perceive things. Should I give away the ending? No, just keep reading. My parents divorced when I was 3 years old. I can't give details because anyone with divorce. All right, guys, there's going to be, let me just stop here and say that there's going to be some reading flaws throughout this. I'm not going to edit it out or anything. I'm just going to go with it and be like Trisha. Be like Trish. All right. My parents divorced when I was 3 years old. I can't give details because anyone with divorced parents knows there are 500 sides to every story. My dad will say my mom cheated, and my mom will say my dad refused to move back to Illinois with us. Wherever the case may be, I decided to stop caring why really on. I advise anyone with divorced parents to do the same. It's not worth the fights, getting upset. You will love both your parents regardless. No point in trying to figure out why or who was the evil one, who broke up the happy home. So at 3 years old, my mom moved my brother Nick and me back to Illinois. And I have to assure my father was okay with it at the time and moved with us, as there are laws for taking children out of the state, blah, blah, blah. He said he couldn't find work back there, and so he moved back to California with us. Herein lies the beginning of my abandonment issues. Dad, if you're reading this, I don't blame you. Well, at least not anymore. I held grudges against my dad for many years. More on this later. Both my brother and I have been to therapy regarding feelings abandoned by our father. But let's just be clear. Our mother was no saint either. I suppose we're all a little hard on our parents, but I'm pretty sure my mental illnesses developed after birth as part of nurture over nature. Seeing as I can't remember much before 5 years of age, let's fast forward. My dad is in California while my brother, mother, and I are in Illinois, northern Illinois, where my mother had grown up and where her family was at the time. It was at this time my mom met my first stepfather, her third husband, and second baby daddy. Are you confused yet? I sure was. And something. The only good thing I can say about this man is he gave my family and me our little sister, Callie. Callie, you're awesome too, girl. I love Callie more than anything now, but at the time I remember resenting her. I think I resented her for about 18 years. Ding, ding, ding. I think I resented her for about 18 years. Oh my gosh. This is going to be tough, you guys. It's hard to like look up and then go back to the this sentence you were on. So, whatever. The second theme of this book, English Majors, is resentment. 1, abandonment issues, and now we have 2, resentment. Let's keep going, shall we? I made faces at her in the crib, and growing up, I made her play second fiddle to me. It was also the time when I was 5 that I remember developing my love for entertainment and acting, or as my mom referred to it, lying. I would make up crazy stories to tell my mom about finding Native American ghosts in our backyard, or about me discovering I was a witch and had magical spells. My mom put liquid dish soap in my mouth for every lie I told. I told a lot. My imagination was wild. I never had any friends all through elementary school. Before I was in the 1st grade, we had already moved from one hillbilly town to the next. It was hard for me to make friends. Nobody wanted to play with me, so I played by myself. In later years at elementary school, I made up stories about my father because kids made fun of me for not having him around. I would say he was a super rich producer in Los Angeles, or a spy, or anything that would make them like me. I also said I had a twin sister, Trixie, who lived with him. I would tell kids he had a stage in his house where when I came over and he'd buy me whatever I wanted, which he actually did. Neither my father nor my mother was rich for the first half of my life, but they sure made it seem that way. My mom took us shopping, out to eat, and to the movies on the weekends, and my dad flew back to see us once a month. When my dad took me shopping, he bought me everything I wanted. My greatest trick was at the toy store. It's driving me nuts. That's one thing about, man, maybe I do need to get a camera, because it's one thing, this is going to be a sloppy video, but whatever. You know what? I hope you guys stuck around and you're listening to the Trisha's history of her insanity. I keep getting phone calls. It's kind of annoying. But anyway, so, yeah. Trisha's biggest trick at the toy store, we'll get back to that. She would say, Dad, I can't decide if I should get this doll or this doll. And he'd tell me to get both. Oh, do we have another issue to add to Trisha's list of problems? Well, yes, we do. Shopping, addiction, and attachment. It made me happy instantly and fixed any doubts or problems I had with my father. My mom got so furious with all the toys we brought home. She said he was doing it because he felt guilty for leaving me. If I make people feel guilty, I get things? Awesome. A wonderful life lesson taught by my mother. My first stepfather was in and out of our house, and his relationship with my mom, I recall my brother Nick calling the cops on him for getting physical with my mother. I remember my mother saying awful things about him. Long story short, he had an affair with my mom's sister. I think that was pretty much the end of that. Cut to Trish, age 10. Enter middle school, enter stepdad number 2. Only a few months after the official split with stepdad number 1. Stepdad number 2 was a mess. He was an old, with no teeth. Later in life, I asked my mother, why this guy? Her answer about him, as well as the other men she married, was financial reasons. It's a sad truth. I don't judge her. I appreciate her honesty. All sarcasm aside, it did teach me a really important life lesson early on, which was to make my own money and rely on no one else, a concept I understood but couldn't carry out. That's another thing. Trisha is a hustler. She knows how to make her money, and if she does spend a lot of it, you know what? She also makes it. So, girl, spend that money. Be bougie. All right. This time was a time when I thought, my father is the hero. I imagined that one day I would move to California and live the life of a child star with my dad buying me everything I wanted. And I would just live my dreams of performing. Every Easter, summer, and Christmas, I flew to California with Nick, and we lived every child's fantasy every day. We went to amusement parks every week, rode in limousines to look at Christmas lights, ate fast food and donuts all the time, and went shopping at toy stores whenever we wanted. My dad spoiled us, but all the while he was working on his startup company for 19 hours a day and living off credit cards. Unlike my mother, my dad was really good at not introducing us to random people he dated. He was very cautious about who he let into our lives. I had met 2 girlfriends of my dad's since he and my mom split up, and they were pleasant enough, but my attachment to my mom was so strong I just wanted them to go away. Plus, every child of divorcees fantasize that their parents will get back together. So having a possible threat come in was no bueno. The last one he dated was very nice to us at first, especially me. When my brother and father would go play golf, she'd take us shopping and do girly things. I appreciated this much because I was super spoiled and did not want to do anything that was not fun for me. Of course, with each step parent who came into the picture, keep in mind each parent was interrogating me for any wrongdoing by the opposite step parent. The competition to be the better parent or have an advantage over the other started very early on. So Trish is pretty happy, right? I'm getting spoiled with toys, eating all the food I want whenever I want, and flying to California for vacations 3 times a year. Sure, there are some issues, but my mental health is still pretty intact. I'm not seeing objects that don't exist. Not yet. Yeah, I don't know. This kind of, if you guys watched her video, she made just the couple, yesterday or a couple days ago, she said she just wanted to be a baby, be held and coddled, you know? Who doesn't want to be a baby? Anyways, chapter 2, junior high hell. Kids are cruel. Everyone gets bullied and everyone gets made fun of. Junior high consisted of 3 magical years of being tormented as the insecure Trish. My insecurities began in 6th grade, gym class. We had swimming as part of the curriculum. I remember walking out in my one-piecer and everyone snorting, making piggy noises. I was so confused. I wasn't sure why they were doing this. My weight wasn't an issue in my mind at the time. I was about 5 feet tall, and I distinctively remember weighing 100 pounds even. I didn't think that that was big. I didn't really grasp the concept of the word fat at the time. Let's see. I didn't. I was so unsure of the picky noises. It didn't bother me until later that week when this kid, we call him D, asked our homeroom teacher, "Why is Trish allowed in the classroom? She's too fat and she should be doing things with the pigs outside." I remember feeling the sting of this as my teacher sort of gasped and paused at what he said, and the other children laughed. I knew it was embarrassing, but again, I didn't understand why me. I wasn't the skinniest girl, but far from the fattest. We were talking the Midwest here. I mean, half the kids in my class were definitely 2 times my size. This went on all through 6th grade. Dee and his friends would say stuff about my rolls, then about my hairy legs, my hairy lip. In gym class, I was the last one picked. At this point, I was still fighting for acceptance. My mom would take me shopping at Limited 2, where all the popular girls shopped, and my dad even paid for a limo to take me to the lip sync contest at our Halloween carnival. When word spread my dad was renting me a limousine for the event, a couple girls agreed to be in my lip sync group, where I was Britney Spears, and they were my backups. It was fun. And I felt like a star because I knew I was a good entertainer. It all felt good until the following Monday at school. Everyone started saying how gross I was in my red latex jumpsuit, and girls in the 8th grade made fun of me on the bus for being a terrible dancer. And most of them just classified me as too weird to talk to. I think because the limos, my big hair, my random trips to California, people in a small town were afraid. Hey. People fear the unknown, and I was about unknown as they came. No one ever heard of a girl taking off class to go to a book signing in LA or to go to an acting class in Hollywood. I came back from trips with pictures of me on Hollywood Boulevard or swimming in the winter at the beach. It made the parents talk, and in turn, it made the kids talk. It didn't help either way that my relatives lived in the same town. My mom has always had issues with her sisters. I think they were always jealous of my mother. My aunts were heavy and my mom was always skinny. My mom actually got out of this small town for a while when she married my dad. I think they thought of her as a black sheep, when in turn my siblings and me... I think they thought of her as a black sheep, which in turn made my siblings and me black sheep. There you go. Of course, my cousins caught on to the drama and didn't make things any easier for me at school. For some reason, my brother was always able to make friends pretty easily. I don't know if it was because he was more reserved and didn't push people's buttons the way I did, but I was never able to make friends. 7th grade came and went. New fat jokes, same old kids. Britney Spears had really hit it this time, and she was everything I wanted to be. Young, beautiful, blonde, and adored by millions. She was my idol. I loved how she dressed, how she talked, and her makeup. She was like a living, breathing doll. I wanted to be just like her, though I was still trying to fit in, still dressing in Limited 2 and going to high school football games. I think the final straw of wanting to fit in came at the end of my 7th grade year. Cheerleading tryouts were taking place. I wanted to try out because I wanted to be popular, be like Kelly Kapowski in Saved by the Bell, wear the uniform and have attention on me. I tried out and didn't make it. The most mortifying thing wasn't that I didn't make it. It was at school when all the girls were talking about how fat my legs looked in the spandex shorts. They all wore shorts called Sophies. I remember those shorts, the Sophie shorts. But I wore spandex because the Sophies rode up on me. It mortified me to the point that I had my dad's friend, who was a doctor, write me a note to get out of gym class for a month. The rest of the year, I had to fake injuries or sicknesses to avoid running laps and being seen in shorts. The summer between 7th and 8th grade years, Nick dropped over 50 pounds and grew about 6 inches. I didn't lose weight, but I started to finish that summer in California at stores exclusive to California. Messed up again. I didn't lose weight, but I started to find myself that summer in California. I shopped at stores exclusive to California, which gave me a feeling of superiority. Oh my gosh, you guys. Superiority. Sorry. That feeling that I was better than what people saw. I am better than most people because I have dreams, and I'm not going to let anyone tell me I can't achieve them. Aww. She put that in bold. Let's reread that. Remember this, Trish. I am better than most people because I have dreams, and I'm not going to let anyone tell me I can't achieve them. That's a good one. It was during this transition that I declared I wanted to be an entertainer. You will notice me, and you will know and see how special I am. This was also the summer when stepdad number 2 left and then came back and left again. Stepdad number 2 was an alcoholic, and I remember being so frightened of coming home and him harming my sister and my mom. He was a violent drunk, and my mom confided in me multiple times that she was scared of him. Stepdad number 2 abused my mom both mentally and physically, and I was constantly worried that something would happen to my girls while I was away. However, when he left the second time that summer, my mom assured me that it was for good and that she was not going back to him. I was relieved, and I told her I secretly wished she and my dad would work things out. When the summer was over, my dad came back a week or so before school started to visit us again, and I remember my mom asking my dad at the front door to work things out. My dad denied her, and it confused me. I'm sure it hurt her. Why wouldn't he try? Why wouldn't he try for us? For the sake of us getting to see him every day. That hurt. He had the opportunity to be with us every day, and he didn't want it. I took it as a personal attack on me, the second strong feeling of being unwanted. My brother later confessed he felt abandoned in a sense, and that my mom finding all these new guys made him feel he wasn't good enough as the man of the house. For the record, my brother watched my little sister and me all the time. My mom worked 3, sometimes 4 jobs throughout our time growing up. I give my brother a lot of credit for taking care of us. I know he worried a lot about us, and I know his issues add up as high as mine. Pretty sure he's insane as well. He just has a way of masking it better than I do. I love you, Nick. 8th grade was upon me. This year was of sex bomb Trish. I wore heavy eyeliner, cheetah print pants, stiffer colored hair, and my mom's water bras. I wanted attention. I was going to get it. My mom was back with stepdad number 2 after my dad's rejection, and my dad had a girlfriend who was obviously more important than us kids in Illinois. My brother had sports. My sister had her dad within miles of her. Where was Trish's spot in this world? It wasn't cheerleading or sports. It was performing. It was getting attention. Lies? Perhaps. I told stories of being an extra in movies like The Big Green and Home Alone 2. I told stories of getting plastic surgery and meeting celebrities. I have to say my knack for meeting idols always did impress me. The previous summer, I had convinced my dad to take me to Las Vegas to meet Donny Osmond. Mission accomplished. I had about 10 copies of that picture of Donny Osmond on me, and I put them aside in my pencil case in my locker and on my notebooks. I think the lie I told about how I met Donny was that my mom had dated him. I can't really recall, but the truth was my dad splurged for 2 meet and greet passes, just me and my dad. Anyways, I tried out for the school play and got the lead, a character named Dutch. I think the play was called Sam Spade and the Shrew. I had all the lines, and even though kids still snickered about the way I looked and dressed, I remembered one popular girl, we'll call her Z, comment at the end of our school performance. Trish was absolutely amazing. It tickled me so much. People were nice to me when the school play was happening, and they saw me in a different light. I liked the attention. I liked people liking me for doing something impressive. I also liked the attention my water bras were giving me, not from the boys in my grade, but from the teachers. My male teachers always gave me hugs in the mornings, Even my gym teacher hugged me, and I was terrible at gym. I actually started wearing double bras, and pretty soon I didn't have to do homework. I got extra credit for staying in during recess and helping cleaning boards and all that fun stuff. Female teachers were a different story. I had one female guidance counselor who literally laughed in my face when I told her I wanted to move to LA to pursue entertainment. She told me that wasn't a job and nobody made money from doing that. You've got to love small-minded America. Look at you now, Trish. Male attention was great. My teachers were hot. My fantasies went wild about teacher and student affairs. They always fascinated me, and for the first time in my life, men wanted to be around me, wanted me to be with them, and not just for holidays and summers. Stepdad number 2 had left, and at this time, he served my mom with divorce papers, so I was getting more attention from my mom. Attention from kids and teachers at school, and attention from my dad through his online shopping for me. I remember he had a credit card number memorized when I asked him to order me stuff. I'd be on the phone with him while he was placing the order, and it made me oh so happy. I wasn't the fat girl anymore, or Nick's little sister. I was Trish. I was Trish with the money. Trish with the Hollywood life, and Trish with the connections. I also did local pageants, and my mom got me in the local papers by paying $50 or so in Hillbilly Land. That was famous. I had made it. So life was great, grand and good, or at least I pretended it was until the holidays. Chapter 3. The evil stepmom. Dun dun dun. Yeah, so the lady at the wig store, she told me that I needed to lay my edges, but I don't know what that means. So yeah, chapter 3, the evil stepmom. Lord help me. Lord help my family forgive me for writing this book. I am not writing this book to hurt anyone. I am almost 25 years old, and I promise you I'm a free and clear and of all grudges at this point. I'm writing every detail of my life to help someone, anyone, one person going through the same thing, and to remind people that they are not alone. And it does get better. This is a book after all. What's a book without a happy ending? Maybe. Actually, I can't promise the happy ending, so just keep reading, okay? Keep watching, okay? 8th grade, January 2nd, the day before my brother and I were headed back to Illinois. After a long winter, my father brought me into his bedroom with Nick, and they said they had something to tell me. I shot daggers at my brother for not preparing me for this. Nick and I were always on the same page. Nick was the person who traveled back and forth with me to California, and we were inseparable. He was the only one I ever felt could understand what I was feeling through our stepdad situations and other hardships. My dad told me he was getting married tomorrow. Shell shock. I hate confrontation or feeling awkward, so I was like, yay, I'm so happy for you, when in reality, I was livid. My stepmom was okay. She wasn't fun. She only ate healthy foods, and she wasn't very girly. But none of that really mattered at the time. What mattered to me was my dad getting married, and that meant the door was officially shut on any chance of him and my mom reuniting. My dad wasn't like my mom. I knew if my dad ever remarried, it would be forever. He always told me the only reason for divorce was if A, someone physically abuses you and puts you in danger, or B, someone cheats. This was my dad's 3rd marriage. I know his first wife cheated on him, and according to my dad, my mom cheated on him. I had always had a theory my dad settled with dear old stepmommy because she would never cheat on him because she was plain and sort of bland. My mom was a knockout, a blonde bombshell, but stepmommy was quite the opposite. Oh, they got married the next day. Wow. My brother and I flew home that night, and we were the ones who were there and had to tell our mom. From what I remember, we didn't tell her for about a month or so. I do remember her asking my dad to get back together again, and when he said he couldn't, that's when we told her that he had gotten remarried. We shouldn't have told her right away, but we were hardly teenagers yet. Why was that our responsibility? I think this made my mom angrier than it had made us. I think she got back together with stepdad. All right, sorry about that. We should have told her right away, but we were hardly teenagers yet. Why was that our responsibility? I think this made my mom angrier than it made us. I think she got back together with stepdad number 2. Oh no, stepdad number 1. For a short period of time at this time. Together they would corner me with questions about whether stepmommy was abusive. I remember coming back from a London trip with stepmommy, and my feet were all bloodied. I had blisters from all the walking we did. She was a health nut, so we had to walk everywhere. And I was not wearing comfortable walking shoes. My mom was livid, even more so than the time my dad let me get a perm because I asked for it. The battle was never ending between mom and dad. From here to eternity, as soon as my dad remarried, the hate spewed from every end. I had to hear from stepmommy now how terrible my mom was. Dad and stepmommy would try to lure me into California. Okay, man, let's try this again. It's a couple Cheetos. I took that break. I have another one. I love Cheetos. I've been like addicted to Cheetos for some reason. Alright, where were we? Yeah, so stepmommy was a health nut. Trisha had bloody feet. Let's see. Her mom was mad. She was mad because her dad let her get a perm. The battle was never ending between mom and dad from here to eternity. As soon as my dad remarried, the hate spewed from every end. Wow, every end. I had to hear from stepmommy how terrible my mom was. Dad and stepmommy would try to lure me out to live in California, which I wanted very badly. I didn't understand why they wanted me. I thought maybe just because it was my dad wanted to spend time with me. Nope. Here's where the root of all evil comes into play. More money, more problems. Yep, more money, more problems. That's the dang truth. My dad sold his startup company for millions of dollars just months after the wedding. I wasn't aware of that at the time, and I had to find out about it from who else? The kids at school. Some of Nick's friends had found articles about my dad selling the company by tapping our last name into searches, which was what everyone did at the time because the internet was still a fairly new thing. It trickled down to me, and I didn't comprehend it, nor did I understand if it was real. My dad and his wife ended up moving into a mansion. It was huge and beautiful, and it was there where I wanted to live. I was in California, where I had started taking acting classes in the summer, and it was where I wanted to be so badly. I didn't think of moving there as a reality until the following winter. Freshman year, I got out for winter break, and instead of flying to California to be with our dad for a couple of weeks and then flying back to Illinois, my brother and I drove to California because my brother was moving into the mansion to start college early. I was so jealous. We drove out in my brother's 1-year-old Explorer, which my dad had given him as a 16th birthday present. My dad had always asked me what car he was going to get me for my 16th birthday. I always said a Volkswagen Beetle. Of course, I knew I was getting that as soon as I turned 16. Coming back home alone was a terrible feeling. Stepdad number 2 was back in the picture. We had moved into a new house in the same crappy town, and I felt empty without my brother being there. All I could think about was Nick living it up in California, playing golf every day, eating fast food, and going to college. I wanted it, and I couldn't wait 3 more years. Oh, sorry, your boyfriend's home. My mom, my sister, and I went to visit Nick that spring. We all fell in love with California. My mom wanted to move out right then and there. She just had lost her father, our grandpa, the year before. But alas, my sister's father, stepdad number 1, wanted to make our lives miserable and not allow my sister to leave the state, even though he only saw her about once a year. And that was because he made her see him, not because she wanted to. Even though my mom and sister weren't able to move out, I knew I still had a chance because my dad was out there, and he was asking me to move. My mom knew how badly I wanted to be in LA to pursue acting and be around people who weren't living in a bubble. So she also knew my situation at school was not easy. Girls were mean, and people were cruel. I was eating lunches alone in the bathroom. Oh. My mom supported me and loved me, and she gave me the okay to quit school, move in with my dad, and start school in California. I moved in with my dad and stepmommy, thinking this was going to be sunshine and red carpets. Boy, was I wrong. My brother had taken over their guest house, and I claimed the big room upstairs. I even had my own bathroom. I started school at that local high school. I lasted 4 days. I was not in Kansas anymore. Again, I was a little shell-shocked. My high school in Illinois had about 400 students. This school had over 4,000. I didn't stand out anymore. I was competing against girls with midriff showing and kids who drove Mustangs. Girls weren't just thin. They were anorexic. Lies spewed out right away. My angle at this time was that I was a farm girl who'd never been to a real school before. I presented myself as Ellie Mae from the Beverly Hillbillies. And that was my character. Nobody cared to get to know me, though. No teachers gave me special attention. I gave up. I cried and I put on the waterworks for my dad, saying it was too tough. The classes were too hard for me coming from no real education town, USA. My dad let me drop out, and we looked into homeschooling classes so I could finish high school within a year. I started Catholic homeschooling that summer, but I was only interested in my acting classes in LA. I stopped doing my work for homeschooling and focused only on my acting. It took a couple of months for my dad to catch on that I was failing and not handing in assignments. He wouldn't let me take driving lessons, and he pulled me from acting classes in Los Angeles. Gone were the days of shopping and going out to eat. Dun dun dun. I had to eat at my stepmommy's cooking, which might as well have been poison. I had to do chores. My mom never made me do chores, but stepmommy made it clear she was never in charge now. But stepmommy made it clear she was in charge of me now. Oh, really? I don't think so. I defied her every chance I got. She was truly evil. She got in screaming matches with my brother, and she manipulated the story she told my dad to make it seem like I was the one with the issues. Stepmommy became my dad's wife. And let me tell you, my dad's wife needs to sit down and write her autobiography, because I really would like to know how she became insane. She is certifiable. Her lies put my fibs to shame. It was astonishing. I was not doing my work, so my mom felt that was cause for me to move back. In fact, in July for that year, she demanded I move back in with her. We talked every day about my issues with my dad's wife, how controlling she was, and how she was deterring my dad from helping me with anything I wanted to do. My mom said, move back home and it'll all be better. My boiling point came when my dad and his wife told me that I was never allowed to go to Los Angeles ever again. That put me on tilt, and when my mom told me the real reason why my dad had wanted me out there with him, I knew I had to go home. Apparently, right after my dad sold his company, my mom caught wind and went back to court for more child support. At that time, my dad and his wife were in my ear about pursuing my dreams in California. When I finally did go to California to live, my mom obviously dropped the pursuit for more money. My dad and his wife went after my mom for child support. What? I know, right? My mom was working 3 jobs while my dad's wife was spending $5,000 on curtain rods. It was unbelievable to me. The battle got only worse. Really? Not the battle for me. Oh no. Who cared where Trish ended up? The battle for money and who got to keep it and who got to take it. I moved back to Illinois, where there was no way I was going back to my old high school after I declared I was moving to California and never coming back. So I was in limbo for a good 6 months of doing nothing. I gained about 40 pounds. That was fun. It was stress and depression. I was stressed about school. I was depressed about my family situation. I had no direction anymore. I totally feel you, girl. On top of all that, my dad and mom started this year-long court battle that dragged me to court every other month. My mom was making me testify against my dad, and that broke my heart because my dad tried so hard to make me happy, even if his wife didn't. I loved my dad. I needed to love my dad for my own sense of feeling sane and normal. My dad called it quits the day I had to go in front of the judge, and my dad... My dad called it quits the day I had to go in front of the judge, and my dad... Does that make sense, you guys? Let me read that one more time. My dad called it quits the day I had to go in front of the judge, and my dad... Okay, am I just stupid, or am I not understanding that sentence? My dad called it quits the day I had to go in front of the judge and my dad. Oh, he called it quits the day she had to go in front of the judge and her dad. I guess that's that. Maybe I'm just stupid, or maybe that's a little bit of that bad grammar. Anyways, my mom made me come to court to testify, and I bawled uncontrollably in the courtroom. I couldn't catch my breath, and at that point, I didn't want to catch my breath. It was only at this time in my life I would have rather been dead than alive, and that was the lowest point. My dad said stop before I spoke, and he said no more. My dad hasn't taken my side too often in life, but I will always remember and have such respect for him for stopping that court session so I didn't have to badmouth him. My dad saved my life that day because I didn't want to go on living, and if I had to choose between my mom and dad, it was just terrible. Parents, please don't ever drag your kids into court. It's traumatizing. He hugged me and he said everything was okay. My mom ended up getting a good chunk of change from my dad. I didn't even think it made her happy. I think it made her greedy. This was the turning point in my life where my mom and I being best friends. This was a turning point of my mom and I being best friends. I resented my mom for making me do that for money. I resented my mom for brainwashing me to move back to Illinois. I resented my mom for cheating on my dad, allegedly. Chapter 4. Back to the fun. Well, Trish, you're going back to school. Let's try another school. My mom did move us to another small town about a half-hour away for me to try another school. I started in an even smaller town that following winter. The high school population was about 200. More judgment, fewer teeth, wonderful. However, I did get to create a new character for myself. I was Trish, the girl from Hollywood, of course. My dad was a big-time producer. My mom was a playmate. I was a child actor who had moved back to Illinois because my parents had just gone through a fresh divorce. I mean, 12 years is still fresh, right? Again, people didn't know how to take me. I started sexing myself up a little bit more. My mom bleached my hair a brassy blonde. I ripped up my t-shirts and threw birds and crap in my hair and called it fashion. I think it was all of my razzle-dazzle. People didn't notice my weight. I dropped about 30 pounds, though, by not eating for 2 weeks straight. That helped. In classes, I volunteered more often to read because these kids were slow. Like all of them, I would read super quickly, and the teachers actually marked me down if I didn't slow down. The kids loved it because they thought I was from another planet, speaking another language. It was sort of my signature at this school. It was my piece of attention. Who wants to read? The teacher would ask, and everyone would say, Trish. I was special. I was better than all of them. Score 1 for Trish. The school wasn't much different in terms of friends. People still kept their distance here. Oh my gosh, my edges. Just kidding. All right, where was I? The school wasn't much different in terms of friends. People still kept their distance here. I never got asked out on dates, nor was I invited to parties. Most teachers loved me except my art teacher. He was a hippie, and he did not appreciate my character. I started really playing out my dumb blonde card at the school. A show starring Paris Hilton called The Simple Life had aired the previous summer, and people did not own televisions in this town, so I knew I could take all the lines from that show and use them as her own. People would talk about Walmart, and I would be like, do they sell walls there? It got people to talk about me. Everyone knew Trish. I would say random things like, horses don't exist because I've never seen them. Something so outlandish that they believe me. I'd get rides out of people, and pretty much soon we weren't talking about art in the Roman Empire, but we spent an hour talking about Trish. It was fabulous, and it was attention. Pretty soon, these people began to bore me. School was of no interest, and all I could think about as I saw Hilary Duff became famous at the age I was at the moment was that I was wasting valuable time when I should be becoming a star in Hollywood. Hollywood was waiting for me. Hollywood needed Trish, and I was stuck here learning about future farmers of America. The school also showed me a lot more physical disapproval of me. I got pencils thrown in my hair, sometimes threw paint on me, and girls stole my pants after gym class. Why were they stealing your pants, Trish? That's weird. Who steals your pants? Anyways, yeah. I always took that as signs of jealousy. I agree. They clearly wanted something I had, and I loved it. But everyone has her limit of how much she can take. I wanted to quit, and I used the good old handy-dandy guilt card on my mom to convince her to let me drop out of school when I turned 16. I told her it was her fault I was stuck here, and the least she could do was let me drop out. She actually agreed, and then I got a part in the play. I played Penny Palmer in Swing Fever. She was the Marilyn Monroe type who came to a small town and dazzled everyone. I loved playing her, and once again, people adored me, and I was a star, so I stayed in school until the end of the year. I turned 16 at the end of my sophomore year, and I was ready and waiting for my Volkswagen Beetle to be delivered by my father, as he had done for my brother when he turned 16. I waited, and my dad said I was not getting one. Gee, who was in his ear about this one? My dad had always told me I was getting a car at 16, and now that he was a millionaire, he had changed his mind. He was playing the card of come to college in California, and we'll get you a car here at this point. I was not holding my breath. This was a huge letdown to me, and it seemed really unfair. My dad not getting me a car had nothing to do with me, and everything to do with my mother and the settlement she got. To this day, my dad won't come out with why he never got me a car, although he got my brother a car. He said he's not allowed to talk about it. Really? Really, Dad? You can't talk about it with your daughter who has been living on her own since she was 18, and you no longer have any ties or connections with my mother? I don't buy it. It's BS, and as far as I was concerned, it was favoritism. What other way is there to look at it? My dad's wife was jealous of me. I'm not sure why. Maybe because I was pretty and she wasn't. Maybe. Maybe because my mom was pretty and she wasn't, because she had children of her own. She was always going to be the second best in my dad's life. Who knows? My dad always made it clear that we were his number one priority. He always said he would choose us over her, but I don't know if I truly and fully believe that. I always told my dad she was the reason I never wanted to live with him full time. If my dad had never met his wife, I pictured us living together even now. I always wanted to live with my dad to get to know him more and make up for lost time as a child, but that was never going to happen with that bit. I mean, woman in the house. I get it, that bit. My mom ended up giving me a used car. It was a 1990 Jeep Cherokee, and I loved it. I'd had my heart set on it since we saw Secret Window starring Johnny Depp that week before, in which he drove a similar one. My license plate even had Depp in the name, but I don't remember it exactly. My mom told me I'd have to find a job if I quit school. I looked that summer but found nothing, so I went back to school the following fall. I was quite lucky as a teen. I didn't have to work, and my parents gave me spending money as long as I did well in school. I wanted to quit again right away and just move out on my own and become a stripper, but I stayed for one reason and one reason only. My junior year biology teacher. We'll call him Mr. D. Mr. D, yeah? He wore glasses, he was buff, he was a football coach, and he was smart. He knew everything about movies, and we'd talk about De Niro and Tarantino all through class while other kids just texted. He let me do science projects on the Black Mamba and let me use quotes from Kill Bill to present it. He was so cool, and he was my outlet. He gave me special attention. I got to go to his classroom during his open period, and he gave me movies to borrow. He loaned me American Beauty, and I swore it was a sign. I tried out for cheerleading, just so he could see me in the light if Kevin Spacey saw Mia Suvari. It wasn't hard making the cheerleading squad at this school. Mr. D never gave me the D. Oh, Trish, that's so crude. But the fantasy and sexual tension was enough for me. He's the only one I miss from my childhood, and he's the only one I'd ever care to see again. I think he's married with kids. I think he was then, but he was my motivation enough to keep me in school and graduate. Senior year was living hell. That's when I turned from emotionally unstable to full-on Trish needs help. I just wanted to be done with small towns and small-minded people and go out, start auditioning and living my dreams of becoming famous. I mean, being famous meant attention, and that's all I really wanted, just to make money being me. Kim Kardashian beat me to the punch. Damn, if only I knew if I were old enough for a sex tape first. This was the year my mom met her boyfriend from hell. We'll call him Tiger. Long story, but think of a famous tiger on a cereal box. My mom started yet another job at a country club about 30 minutes away, and this was where she met Tiger. Tiger started spending the nights in our 2-bedroom house immediately. He would get out of the shower in the morning to rock around our house naked. He sat on my bed naked, and he stole DVDs of mine. How dare him. My mom never believed me. I mean, I did have a past of lying, but I never lied about Tiger or about any of my step-parents for that matter. I may like attention, but I'm not going to say someone did something to me when they didn't. I've always been a Catholic and believe in do unto others. Plus, I always was aware that karma does come around, so I'm not out to ruin lives. We'd get into really big arguments over Tiger and how I didn't feel comfortable with him in our house. My mom would tell me to get a life, move out, and leave her alone. She and Tiger would have sex on the couch when I was coming home from football games. She'd have sex in the living room so loudly that my sister and I couldn't sleep, and she didn't care. She stumbled in my room drunk one night, saying she was closing my door so she and Tiger could have loud, crazy sex. She was wearing my Steppenwolf theater shirt with no pants, which I later burned. I thought my mom was such a whore, and I thought she was absolutely repulsive. At this time, I felt trapped. I could not stand to talk to my dad's wife, which meant I wasn't talking to my dad. I had no money to move, and I didn't even know how to go about making money. I had to stay there and endure my mom and her multiple boyfriends coming in and out of the house. I think my mom knew I was flying the coop at the end of the year. so she was looking for her way out as well. We did not get along, and by the end of this year, it was safe to say that I hated my mom. I resented her and never wanted to speak to her again. The day I turned 18 was the second happiest day of my life, and the day I graduated high school was the first. The day of graduation, I ran in to get my diploma after the ceremony. My dad was there, and we bolted immediately afterward. I didn't say goodbye to classmates. I didn't say goodbye to teachers. I didn't say goodbye to my mom or sister. They both had made it clear. I was unwelcome that entire year, so I just ran. All my boxes were already shipped out to my dad's house, and I was on my way to California. That was the last time I've ever been to Illinois. Chapter 5, College Dropout. All right, college dropout. Oh gosh. Okay. So now you've been reading all about my broken home and thinking, Trish, you were never molested or beaten, so consider yourself lucky. You may be right. My parents loved me and wanted the best for me. I believe deep down, but my own psyche really was my worst enemy. My peers hated me because I was different. My dad hated me, so he left me. My mom hated me, so she pushed me out. And my sister hated me because we weren't full-blooded siblings. I just had so many thoughts of people hating me in my head that I didn't feel I deserved to be loved by them, nor did they deserve my love. Anyway, let's get back to the story. Trish moves to Southern California. Trish enrolls in college that summer. Trish gets a job at Target that summer. Trish looks into acting gigs while attending school full-time. Trish gets Dad's hand-me-down Cadillac. Dad adds a car to his American Express package for Trish to use. Trish. I love you, Trish. I went to community college, which saved my dad a lot of money, considering my brother went for 4 years to a private Catholic university and my dad's wife was buying properties that never sold. I didn't like where we lived. It was in the middle of the desert. I was working at a Target, which was full of depressing employees at the time, and driving a beater. It didn't seem fair that his wife didn't have to work and could drive around in her Mercedes all day, nor did it seem fair that my brother got to live in a condo on his own his freshman year, while I was living in my dad's guest house, working my butt off, taking college courses with 40-year-olds and illegal immigrants. My dad would get on my case about buying a dress from Target when I was told to use the card for necessities like toilet paper and shampoo. He demanded I show him receipts. Well, I'm sure his wife demanded this because heaven forbid I buy something for myself. That's taking my dad's money out of her pocket for ugly furniture. I discovered MySpace and it kept me entertained and took me out of the world I didn't love. I uploaded photos to MySpace and I became sort of a celebrity on there. All of a sudden, I was getting hundreds of picture comments saying how gorgeous I was and thousands of friend requests for flooding in. This was amazing. I loved it. While most people had an average of about 50 to 100 friends, I had over 50,000 within months. Wow. The pictures got sexier, the friends increased. I set up my camera on my tripod started getting all sorts of naughty. It made me feel good and grown. My dad treated me like such a little kid still. He and his wife would tell me I couldn't wear a certain skirt nor let me go out with friends. So I just put myself out there behind their backs. I personally wanted fans on MySpace. I really wanted my fans on MySpace to hear my voice and my personality. So I found YouTube. The only site at the time where you could record, upload, and share video. I did it strictly for my MySpace fans so they had more to dote on me. The first video I ever uploaded was me rapping Vanilla's Ice Ice Baby. I also know the words to that song by heart. Stop, collaborate, and listen. Ice is back with a brand new invention, something. Grabs a hold of me tightly, flow like a harpoon daily and nightly. Will it ever stop? Yo, I don't know. Just kidding. Actually, I'm not. I could keep going. I think I had like a couple hundred views, and I was so excited. At the time, there were no regular YouTubers. It was a place for cat videos and babies laughing. Nevertheless, people commented on how funny I was and how the voice and personality weren't what they were expecting. I love that. Still to this day, I love shocking people and confusing them in every way. At Target, one day, I was saying how I hated the job, but didn't know how to look for a new one. A coworker told me about Craigslist. I went on one night after school and saw they had a TV and film section. Jackpot. I was shocked to see people wanting to put people on television. The first ad I replied to was seeking people who were like plastic dolls and dressed over the top. I wrote them the ditziest, most airheaded email you ever read and sent them a link to my MySpace. They called the next morning right before my class. I skipped class to talk to the casting producer over at the Greg. All right, I'm going to say this show wrong. I'm going to say this guy's name wrong. Greg, gosh, Behrendt. See, this is where I told you I don't know who people are. The Greg Berdandt show. Berdandt. I don't know. Correct me. I don't know how you're gonna correct me because I'm still not gonna be able to read it. Anyways, she interviewed me and asked me if I wanted to be on the show, and I was shocked. It was that easy to get on TV? Yes, of course. I jumped at the opportunity. She just asked for a family member to go on the show with me, someone in my life who wanted me to tone down my look. I talked to my brother into doing it with me, and he agreed, but somehow my dad's number got involved. They called my dad and sent him the email I wrote into the show, and my dad was disappointed in me, to say the least. He went over the email with me, asking me why I was dumbing down my intellect. I just played my character and said, Dad, like, OMG, duh, eek. That's just the way, like, peeps talk. Like, God, get over it. However, both my dad and brother, I think, took note that it was kind of remarkable I was able to get the attention of a TV show and get paid on top of that. The producers called both of them and told them they were giving me a makeover to try to class up my look and that they had a surprise for me. It's quite comical to watch the episode. I think my dad still has it on DVD. I'm wearing pink head to toe, the worst blonde extension clip-in, and black out eyes. I think I talk a mile a minute, but before going out there, I knew I was going to have to make them remember me. So I talked so fast, no one could understand me. The crowd was putty in my hands. I was born an entertainer. What can I say? It was no rush to be on TV. And I didn't care if they were laughing with me or at me. They were laughing and I was getting noticed. After the show aired, I got another call from the Greg Berdandt show. They wanted to do a follow-up of my story and let me do a segment of them on a Hollywood Boulevard. They weren't going to follow me around with a camera. Oh, they were going to follow her around with a camera. And she was going to talk to people with a microphone. I was so excited until my dad's wife had to get involved. I ran into my dad's office screaming with excitement that they had invited me back for a second TV appearance, and my dad said he had to think about it. Think about it? What? This was my dream. I was getting calls to be on TV. I was going no matter what, or so I thought. It was on a school day, which meant I had to take off school, and my dad wasn't keen on that, but said as long as I got my work done beforehand, it would be okay. Great, I'm ready. Let's go to Hollywood, Dad. Nope, hold on. My dad said his wife was going to take me in this time. Why? I didn't like her. She didn't like me. She was embarrassing. He gave me no reason other than she is taking you or you are not going. I cried and pouted, but I had to go. I couldn't say no to television people. Of course not. We got there and I was whisked away to hair and makeup while Dad's wife was left sitting in her car with no access to the lot. When they said I was going to be in the car with them, when they said I was going to go in a car with them, Dad's wife said she'd come too. And they told her no. How dare they say no to Dad's wife? Didn't they know she was Dad's wife? Dad's wife was raging. As soon as we got home from school, Dad told me no more shoots. The Greg Berdandt show. No more missing class. No more LA trips. Ever. Gee, why, Dad? Was it because your wife wasn't included in my opportunity? It wasn't 2 weeks later the Greg Berdandt show called me for yet another episode. This time not to talk about my issues, but to do a commercial throw for them, as in a real television paid acting job. My dad said absolutely not, and I said I'm quitting school and moving out then. I don't think he thought I was serious until I found a place and that my mom was coming out to help me move. Dad and his wife were losing control, and they did everything possible to make my last days there miserable. My dad took away my car and my credit card, and he took away my laptop so I couldn't look for more jobs, and he took away my cell phone. This was a perfect opportunity for my mom to come back into the picture and make my dad and his wife unhappy. So I knew she'd be in. I will say this about my mom. She had a new boyfriend during this time, and we hadn't talked all summer, not one day since I left my graduation. But as soon as I called her for help, she was there for me. Oh, good old Mama Paytas. She came out 2 days before the taping of my third show, and we packed up my stuff, which was just my clothes, and we headed out to LA to my apartment, which I had never seen. I just signed the lease via fax. It said it was in the heart of Hollywood, and that's all I cared about. We also bought me a car, a Volkswagen Beetle. This was all thanks to my mom and her friend, not her boyfriend, because I had no money, never been a saver, always a spender. I remember leaving my dad's house the way I left my mom at graduation, cold and bitter. He pulled out all the stops to keep me from moving, and he set me up for failure. He had my uncles call me and tell me how many murders took place in Los Angeles every year, but nothing worked. My mind was set and I was going. My dad's a hard ass. When he doesn't get his way, like father, like daughter. We got to my apartment right at the corner of Highland and Yucca, just 1 block from Hollywood and Highland. It was next to a liquor store and an empty parking lot, and needles were all over the grounds. A guy dressed up as Superman smoking a joint came to let us in. Welcome to Hollywood. We met with my landlord and moved my clothes in and the air mattress my mom purchased for me on our way up. It was a scary building. I didn't even have locks on my door. It was an old and run down, but I remember feeling so happy and so free. The day we moved in, flowers were delivered. I thought it was some kind of mistake, but it wasn't. The flowers were from Greg Burnett himself. For those of you who don't know, Greg is the author of the book He's Just Not That Into You, and also a writer on Sex and the City. I take everything as a sign, and in that moment, I knew I was making the right decisions for myself. My mom stayed in and got me situated. I took her to the taping of the show. It was like a dream. After the show, Greg's sister introduced herself to me and my mother, and we shared stories. Greg's assistant invited us up to his house for Thanksgiving, and one of the producers brought us into her office. I love this producer so much. She really believed in me, and it was great to have someone behind me with no agenda. She gave me paperwork to fill out about this thing called AFTRA, a union that television actors have to join to make sure they get benefits, coverage, and higher pay. It was expensive to join, but my mom loaned me the money, and we did it. Best decision I ever made. To this day, I get residuals from that show. Now, instead of getting $100 here and there, $100 there, I was making a scale, a fancy term for a big paycheck for doing a couple hours work on television. The fourth show was the show where Greg told me on camera how much he enjoyed me, how much his staff adored me, and how responsive the audience had been to my appearances. He said he knew I moved to Hollywood on my own to pursue this dream, and he was going to offer me a job on camera on his show. If you watch the show, I didn't cry. I didn't do anything because I didn't understand what he meant. I didn't grasp the situation, nor could I believe it. Was it really this easy to get a job on television? I worked for the show on and off for the next few months, bringing in big paychecks and working only a few hours a week. I got to make people laugh, perform funny skits, and talk about feelings. It was the best job ever. I had joined the show midway through season 1, and they ended it on a show with me on trying to lose weight to continue in season 2. Season 2 never came. The show was canceled, and they invited me back for the goodbye episode, where they had a segment called the Top 5 Trish Moments, which counted down my greatest moments on his show. His assistant brought me flowers. I said goodbye to everyone I had grown to love on that show, and I drove home, sat in a cluttered apartment, and cried and cried and cried. I didn't save money. My mom ran up her credit card bills on me, and my dad and I weren't speaking. I wasn't going back to college, but I didn't want to go back to working a 9-to-5 job either. I tried to live the next few months off of savings, but savings go quickly in Los Angeles, especially when you can't stop spending and can't stop shopping. I get you. I feel you, girl. I met some guys online. I lost my virginity to some random guy and started having casual sex with anyone who would look at me. I never had a boyfriend and never kissed a guy before intercourse. I felt loved because a guy wanted to be with me for a couple of hours. So I went from guy to guy, having sex to feel better about myself and my situation. It didn't help my heart, nor did it help my wallet. I was desperate. I needed money, so I went out and got it. A lot of it. Chapter 6, The Stripper Diaries. So guys, I am going to take a little break. We read 31 pages, and we are actually, my boyfriend and I have to do some real life things. We're doing a crystal show tonight. CJ's Crystals. Check us out on Facebook. We sell gems and minerals, and yeah, we love it. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the little first, we'll call this the first, what is it? We did 5 chapters. First 5 chapters of the history of Trisha Paytas' insanity. I think we left it on a good note too. We ended it on her desperate ways of needing money and how she needed money and made a lot of it. So I hope you guys watch the next episode, I guess you could call it. The next, I don't know how many more chapters there are, but there's, like I said, 80 pages in the book. We read 30 today, and we'll next time read the next 50 maybe. So anyways, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you soon. Alrighty, much love.